It's time for the third race at the Rockingham Speedway for the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. This time, not only do we have a reverse grid, but there's a pit stop included. Between minutes 7 and 14, the cars will have to come in, and there are 2 Velcro strips on the cars that need to be removed. Andy, you're starting in pole position, and this extra bit of pit stop tactics is really going to make the life of you guys interesting.
Yep, and our pit crew as well. We've all got to be on the ball, ready to go at a minute's notice. As soon as that 7 minutes is up, our pits are going to call us in, and the G&H car is going to hopefully come in nice and clean without speeding and get out nice and clean and carry on with the race. But it puts another aspect to the race. It's really going to be exciting.
And as you say, that's something else that you guys have got to consider is the pit lane speed limit. Not something you normally have to worry about in a race. It's really going to open this up.
Yeah, we've got to be very careful because the penalties are quite high. So it's worth just making sure that you don't go over the speed limit at all and get a nice clean exit and get back on the pace.
We wish you all the best out there. We'll let you get in the car and get ready for going out onto the grid. It's time to take you to our commentary team to talk you through this exciting race.
Thanks, Lloyd. The third and final race of the weekend. I can't wait for this. It's reverse grid and mandatory pit stop. Baker and Ludford in front of Churchill and Goodwin at the front end from Chamberlain and Nick Hull. Gary Lawrence and Kevin Molyneux with Adam Southgate alongside Jamie Callender. Lee Bowden in the production Boxster. And then it's Richard Matthews from Carl Rossin, Hugh Pert and Gavin Johnson in the 924 class. So reverse grid, watch this start. It's going to be the most action-packed of the weekend. On board with Nick Hull and Gary Lawrence from the starting grid of this one. 5-second board goes up. This is going to be action-packed and fever pitch from the off. Reverse grid, so there's going to be a few drivers making incredible getaways. Let's race at Rockingham. Good start straight away from Nick Hull, who's going to blast forward past Ludford, past Baker, past everybody. And Nick Hull's going to try and get into the lead with Jesse Chamberlain there to the inside line as well. Here comes Molyneux round the outside of Goodwin. They go through the banking, and Gary Lawrence is on the inside. We're on board with him as he's there in third position. Nick Hull is trying to keep Jesse Chamberlain behind him. Where's Southgate? There he is into fifth position. So Lawrence is trying to get into third, and up the inside, Southgate gets past Molyneux, up into fourth position. We're on board with Gary Lawrence as Nick Hull leads the way here at Rockingham in front of Jesse Chamberlain. Then it's Lawrence, Southgate, Molyneux, Goodwin up the inside of Churchill. Then it is Callender in front of Baker, Ludford and Bowden. And as they come through Chapman Curve, Nick Hull sliding about in the lead of the race here as they go into Piff Paff on the brakes in the left, through the right, and now Nick Hull is trying to keep in front of Jesse Chamberlain. Now in the 7th minute of the race, the pit lane will open, and they've got to remove that Velcro strap from the front windscreen and the rear windscreen. We'll talk about that in more detail as we get closer to the time, but that's obviously on the back of their minds. They want to get into a decent track position, as Southgate now has on the tail of Gary Lawrence into fourth position, but they want to get a good track position as possible in order to get the pit stops as smooth as possible, as Chamberlain makes the move to try and get into the lead there at Tarzan, and Southgate has used the momentum to get on the inside of Gary Lawrence and sweep by onto the school straight. The final race of the weekend, and it looks like it's going to be the best one yet, as Southgate has completed the first lap as he comes through the Brook chicane in third position from 9th on the grid. So a cracking start from Southgate. Molyneux likewise has come up from 8th position on the starting grid up into 5th. So he is going absolutely brilliantly here at Rockingham, and now he's going to try and get the switch back on Gary Lawrence, although he slots in behind him for the time being. Nick Hull, though, is your race leader. Just before we get to the pit stop phase, Jesse Chamberlain in second, but coming right round the outside. Can he get the run to Dean Hairpin? There's enough of a gap between the two of them that it shouldn't be too much of a difficulty. Down into the braking zone, Chamberlain's going to hold it right round the outside, and he takes the lead. Brilliant racing from Chamberlain. He now leads in front of Nick Hull and Adam Southgate. Terrific driving, and now Southgate's going to get straight on with this up the inside of Nick Hull. Out of Yentwood, he's not quite there, but he's going to continue to commit to the inside line for Chapman. Throws it up the inside, and Nick Hull has to let him go. Good driving from Southgate up into second place. This is the thing, he's not just dominant when he gets into the lead of the race, he's also good at carving his way through the traffic to get back into the front of the race. but it's now Jesse Chamberlain who leads. And that, by my book, makes it 4 different race leaders over the course of the weekend, because we had Kevin Molyneux take the initial lead off the start of the first race. Southgate took the lead from him at the end of that first lap. Nick Hull obviously getting the best start and going into the lead of this race until Jesse Chamberlain made the break. I think this is the first time Jesse Chamberlain has led a race this season, and it's not going to be too long before he's winning them. As there goes Gary Lawrence in the 93. Battling away there with Kevin Molyneux for 4th position as Nick Hull remains intact for 3rd place. Southgate's going to try and get a look at Jesse Chamberlain, but he's got plenty of time to do this. He's not going to rush it, especially knowing that Jesse Chamberlain still very new to the car. If anybody is more likely statistically to make a mistake, I suppose you could argue it could be Jesse Chamberlain, as Southgate gets alongside him anyway. They come down the main straight and over the start-finish line, and that's Southgate into the lead. So Chamberlain's lead only lasting the majority of the second lap before Southgate gets into the lead. Now, if Adam Southgate can pull away again and get himself further into the lead, then that's going to be his best possible chance of wrapping up the race at the pit stop window, as Chamberlain tries to go deep into Dean Hairpin and get past him around the outside anyway. Hasn't been able to do that. Nick Hull in 3rd still from Gary Lawrence and Kevin Molyneux. Still in there as they battle away for 3rd, 4th and 5th. But the Hull-Lawrence-Molyneux battle has been quite a good one all through the 2018 season, and they've all had turns in front of each other as Lawrence is there through Chapman Curve. He's taken a bit of a wide line. I thought maybe we were going to get Kevin Molyneux up the inside then, but clearly that wasn't his moment. But Southgate still leads here with Jesse Chamberlain learning like a sponge here at the moment, soaking up all that knowledge of following the race leader Adam Southgate, who is the benchmark for good pace in the 2018 season, and he's doing an absolutely terrific job here, so the more he can do the better. And oh, that's Nick Hull, and who's that in front of us going wide? That's Jesse Chamberlain. Chamberlain's gone off at Gracelands there, so Hull is through into 2nd place. Can Chamberlain get the car stopped by Tarzan? He's got damage to the car as a result of going off. So Lawrence is now going to tuck back for the inside of Tarzan. They're going to be side by side down the score straight. And also trying to come through there is Gary Lawrence. So Gary Lawrence squeezes across and into 4th position. Nick Hull is doing a great job there in 3rd position in front of Lawrence and Jesse Chamberlain. So Jesse Chamberlain initially there in 2nd position, but now, that's Nick Hull in 2nd. 3rd is 93 of Gary Lawrence. Then 4th is Jesse Chamberlain. 5th is Kevin Molyneux. I was getting a bit confused there. Adam Southgate stretching away out in front with Hull, Lawrence, Chamberlain and Molyneux all battling away for that next position on the podium. 2nd and 3rd place up for grabs. And still, any one of these 4 drivers could end up in P2. And then, of course, that 3rd position is still up for grabs, as well as Hull protects the inside line at Tarzan Hairpin very well indeed. Hanging on there in front of Gary Lawrence, who is still pushing very hard. Jesse Chamberlain in 4th place and Kevin Molyneux in 5th position. Now, as we get closer to the 7th minute of the race, which is going to come at the end of this lap, basically, let's talk you through the pit stop procedure as we ride on board with Gary Lawrence into Piff Paff. The pit stop window will open, and looking at the time frame, I think that Adam Southgate has pulled enough in front of Nick Hull that it's actually going to be Nick Hull who sees the pit lane window open board first rather than Adam Southgate. Just trying to do the calculations quickly. I think Southgate will actually drive past before we get to the 7th minute of the race. Now, when the pit stop opens, that is when drivers can come into the pits to make their mandatory pit stop. A single mechanic must then take the Velcro strip off of the windscreen at the front and the back. They can do it in either order, it doesn't matter, and then they signal their driver to go. They're not allowed to speed in the pits, of course. They must not impede another driver on their way into the pits. They've got to be very careful about how they do it tactically, and it adds a whole new and very interesting and diverse element into the championship here at the mandatory pit stop race, as Lawrence again tries to get on the inside of Nick Hull. It's not going to happen on this particular occasion. And as they come across the line, I want to look up and see, is there the board out? Yes, it is. The pit lane is open. And everybody from 2nd down has seen it. Adam Southgate has not, so he's going to have to carry on an additional lap before he sees that the pit lane window is open. You're not allowed to pit in until you have seen the pit lane window open board. Now, you can pit any time you like before the 13th minute. As Jesse Chamberlain charges up the inside of Nick Hull and has gone right off the circuit, gets himself back into position again, tucked in behind Kevin Molyneux. Oh dear, Gary Lawrence that was, overshooting, not Jesse Chamberlain. But Gary Lawrence gets it all back together again. And and drops to the back of the queue for the moment. So Gary Lawrence running a little bit deep and has got himself back into position in 5th place once more. Whoa, that was a little bit hectic. He somehow got away with that one, but Nick Hull still there in 2nd position in front of Jesse Chamberlain, Kevin Molyneux and Gary Lawrence. So Chamberlain overshooting, Gary Lawrence getting a little bit worse for wear, and now Jesse Chamberlain's going to throw it up the inside for 2nd position in front of Nick Hull, and that's been beautifully manhandled there at Gracelands. So Jesse Chamberlain into 2nd position behind Adam Southgate. Now they're closing up on Richard Matthews to put a lap on the 924 driver. Here comes Kevin Molyneux up the inside of Nick Hull. Ooh, very heavy braking there from Molyneux to avoid going into the door of Nick Hull. As now Gary Lawrence is going to... Oh, whoops, I was going to say he was going to get alongside Kevin Molyneux. They actually brushed wheel arches there as they come down the school straight. They're both going to try and get on the inside of Richard Matthews without problems, and they have done so. So there you go, the pit lane window is open and Nick Hull is straight in. He's the first one to take the mandatory pit stop in the 2018 Toyo Tires Porsche Championship here at Rockingham. He's the first one to do it. You can see one of the officials is there on the pit straight with a speed gun to make sure that the drivers are not breaking the speed limit. I saw 2 more drivers come into the pits as well. I think one of them was Richard Matthews. The other one is Gary Goodwin. So here we go. Stop. Rear Velcro off, front Velcro off, and off we go. That's a perfect stop for Nick Hull. He's not allowed to speed on the way out of the pits as well. There we go, and that looked pretty much okay to me. And they've been told very, very deliberately there that you're not allowed to speed on the way down the pit lane or out of the pit lane, and the penalties are severe. We're talking about a minute penalty added on for speeding in the pit lane, because obviously stop and go penalties don't work very well in sprint races, but they can do what they have chosen to go for. So that has left Jesse Chamberlain now in 2nd position in front of Kevin Molyneux and Gary Lawrence, but all 3 of those drivers have yet to make their mandatory pit stop. There's Andy Baker. Carl Rossin behind him is into the pits as well. Andy Baker given the signal. I think he needed to look out the window a little bit better to see that signal. He lost about 1.5 seconds just in reaction times there, but it is quite tricky when you've got the helmet on as well to look out of the windscreen and see your mechanic, especially if he just happens to be standing on that pillar of the car on the left-hand corner, which is basically the blind spot. You've got a race helmet on and the visor. You've got to look across and make sure your mechanic is giving you the signal you want to see. So benefit of the doubt to Andy Baker there. It's the first time they've ever done it. Now into Brook Chicane. Who's going to make the plunge for the pit stops? It looks like Gary Lawrence is, and so too is, Jesse Chamberlain is, and so too is Kevin Molyneux. Gary Lawrence continues on. So this is going to be an interesting race of the pit stops, as down the straight they were going to go, and looks to me as though Jesse Chamberlain is going to get his car stopped just before Kevin Molyneux. They're almost racing down the pit lane side by side. As long as they're not speeding, this is perfectly okay. But I think Kevin Molyneux is travelling just a little bit... oh, goodness me. Mechanic very nearly getting hit there as they go through. And Kevin Molyneux accidentally in reverse gear, rolling the car backwards. So it hasn't really changed anything. But both pit stops there pretty fast. And Jesse Chamberlain's got Kevin Molyneux right behind him as they leave the pits. There's Philip Churchill. Left... rear Velcro, front Velcro, off you go. That was neat and tidy for Philip Churchill. Good pit stop there. And obviously the mechanics have to be very careful about how they go about this. Up the inside comes Kevin Molyneux, side by side again with Jesse Chamberlain. Very close, and they're still side by side as they come up towards the Yentwood corner. Now here's the race leader, Adam Southgate. He's going to get up the inside of Hugh Pert, who leads the way here in the 924s, I do believe. Carl Rossin has already made his mandatory pit stop, so too has Richard Matthews. I don't think it's going to be long before Hugh Pert does the same thing, unless he has already done so, of course. But Adam Southgate is getting towards the end of that pit stop window. So is he going to dive into the pits this time? Yes, he does. So Southgate swings the car straight in and through the left-hander for the pit stop. Now, he's going to get on the brakes, and he's timed this to perfection. They'll obviously have done tests to see what sort of speed they will do at what revs per minute limit on in which gear. They'll have done things like this to test it. Into the pits comes Gary Lawrence as well. So first and second place into the pits at the same time, and Hugh Pert does the same thing. So there is some good work there from Avis Consulting's mechanics there. Good work and a good performance there, just waving their drivers in. Hugh Pert is into the pits as well. Looks like someone else is going to be coming in. Of course, it is Gary Lawrence. So the team's obviously designating one person to do the Velcro on the front and rear windscreen. Very Very nice signalling there, the 93. That's a very quick pit stop for Gary Lawrence. Here come the two men he's racing against. That is Kevin Molyneux and Jesse Chamberlain. How's he going to filter back out? Have they beaten him out of the pits? That's going to be the interesting bit there. I think they have done. Molyneux sweeps by. So too does Jesse Chamberlain on the right side. Gary Lawrence may get a chance to come straight back up the inside into Dean Hairpin, but unfortunately he's just missed out on the positions there. Now Nick Hull is currently doing an absolutely fantastic job, and he's ahead of all of them. So Nick Hull was the first one to make the pit stop, and look, he's several seconds in front of these guys. So the real winner from these pit stops is Nick Hull, just going out there and getting the first pit stop done as soon as possible. It's the perfect strategy. He's now got a bit of space between himself and Kevin Molyneux in third position. Fourth is Chamberlain, fifth is Lawrence, and they've got another 8 minutes or so of racing, not even that, to get going. So the pit stop window is about to close, if it has not already done so by the end of this lap. And we are getting reports there's not a single penalty to hand out, which is really good. So the drivers were obviously told very clearly in the briefing exactly how the mandatory pit stop phase was going to work. The drivers asked as many questions as they possibly could to get a better understanding of it, and they've got it done very well. Now Gary Lawrence is going to get a good opportunity here as Molyneux and Chamberlain are going to be side by side, dicing for third position, and Lawrence could get a good run off the throttle. Are they going to be three alongside each other? Yes, it's three wide down the school straight. Lawrence cuts across on Chamberlain and across on Molyneux and gets himself from fifth to third, but goes off on the grass. Get it back quickly. Oh, Molyneux's not able to get on the inside. Chamberlain's going to come round the outside. And that's all fine and dandy, but Molyneux's got a good run on Gary Lawrence as they come down the straight. There's the board up the top of the gantry. Pit lane closed is what they will see. We could see the other side of it, of course, pit lane open. That was what they saw 7 minutes ago. So now the mandatory pit stop phase is over. Everybody's taken a mandatory pit stop, so there's not going to be any penalties handed out. Nobody was speeding in the pits either, so good behaviour from all of the drivers. Whoa, Chamberlain moves across to stop Molyneux coming through, and he almost goes into the side of Gary Lawrence. Goodness me. Great racing from these three as they battle and squabble over that third step of the podium. They all want it very badly indeed. And as they come through Yentwood, they go up the crest, up towards Chapman Curve, and Lawrence still hanging on in front of Molyneux and Chamberlain. There's about 5.5 minutes left of this race, so they're definitely in the business end of this third of 3 races here at Rockingham, and they all want to get it done pretty quickly. So now is the opportunity for Kevin Molyneux to hold on in front of Chamberlain. Back on the power, up towards Greystands. Gary Lawrence is starting to check out in third position. A nice podium finish for him to end his weekend. Kevin Molyneux's had a good one, 2 seconds and a fourth. He can be pretty solid with that and very happy with it if that's the way it's going to finish. But Jesse Chamberlain is going to make sure it doesn't finish that way. He's going to try and come right round the outside of Molyneux at Tarzan, and they bang wheels. Oh, sliding sideways through that hairpin complex and up towards the school straight again. And Molyneux's going to have to let Chamberlain go, but he's going to cut straight across, goes one way, goes the other, trying to find a way through. Chamberlain does the sensible thing and sticks in the middle of the circuit, so Molyneux has to do all of the guesswork. And that was beautifully handled there by Jesse Chamberlain as he now runs in fourth position. Molyneux looked like he missed a gear there, and he's down to fifth position a little way further back. So Gary Lawrence in third, Chamberlain in fourth, and Molyneux in fifth position as we get into the closing stages of the race here at Rockingham. And for Adam Southgate, I think he has only got 2.5 laps or so left of this Rockingham circuit to negotiate. It's been a really exciting weekend for the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. This reverse grid race combined with a mandatory pit stop has been pretty awesome as Jesse Chamberlain very nearly goes into the door of Gary Lawrence, gets the car stopped at exactly the right moment as they come up towards Yentwood, in through the right-hander. Plenty of curb for Kevin Molyneux as he's trying to close up once again on Chamberlain to move at least into P4 once more. There is our 924 leader, Hugh Pert, having the season of his life in 2018. And he has come out of the pit stop phase very well indeed. Looking very smart and comfortable at the moment. Third position, still up for grabs between these three. Still it's Gary Lawrence, Jesse Chamberlain and Kevin Molyneux. And still nobody is clear who's going to get it. Back on board with Gary Lawrence up towards Greystands. Take it nice and carefully through the left-hander. There's Nick Hull, who is on course for his best ever result in the championship, in second place. He's had a bag full of third positions, but clearly mandatory pit stop racing is where Nick Hull excels, as he is in second position in front of Lawrence, Chamberlain and Molyneux, and he's quite a way in front of them as Chamberlain gets the power down very early through Tarzan. The back end steps out, and he looks more like a rallycross driver than he does a circuit racer at that point. But Molyneux's going to get alongside as a result of it. Chamberlain moves to cover. Good defence, good offence, as the two of them are battling away brilliantly for fourth position in the hope that Gary Lawrence in front of them makes a mistake so that they can be squabbling over the third and final step of the podium. And by my maths, Adam Southgate up in front of them in the lead of the race is now on the penultimate lap. So 2 laps to go for these guys battling away over third. Kevin Molyneux again trying to get one over on Jesse Chamberlain as they go through the banking. He sits behind him through the slipstream. This is where he can really gain some speed. Has he got the bravery on the brakes down into the braking zone? Oh, you've got to be careful there. You don't want to overshoot. And in through the hairpin, no difficulties at all for our men in third, fourth and fifth. Gary Lawrence still there in front of Jesse Chamberlain and Dolly Molly himself, Kevin Molyneux, finishing off his Rockingham weekend in style. It's been a real step forward for Kevin Molyneux. Gary Lawrence, though, has been able to put his car into the podium positions several times over the course of the weekend, so he can be happy with his lot here if he finishes in third place. And Jesse Chamberlain, I think this is the weekend he's really established himself as one of the main guard at the front end of the grid. No longer is he a rookie to the championship. He is well and truly an established member of the elite at the front end. Adam Southgate is going to lap Carl Rossin, who is doing a fantastic job in the 924 class and has really made the pit stop phase work well for him too. At 45, Adam Southgate is going to come out of the final turn and he will go on to his final lap here at Rockingham, and this is going to be the hat-trick. It's been an absolutely incredible run from Adam Southgate all season. He got the double at Alton Park. He got the triple, he got 2 out of 3 at Knockhill, I should say. And James Coleman was the only one who took a victory off him that day. But this is going to be Adam Southgate's 6th straight victory, because he got the triple hat-trick of wins at Cadwell Park and now is looking likely to do the same thing here at Rockingham. You could argue he's been largely unchallenged over the course of the weekend, but we said that about Ed Hayes last year, and it didn't make the impressive performance of the 2017 Championship campaign from Ed Hayes any less impressive. So Adam Southgate is doing exactly what Ed Hayes did last year, which was lead by example, control the pace of the race, look after the car, trust the mechanics to give him a good set of wheels, and boy have they given him the best car on the grid in 2018. This car is definitely a shadow of its former self. It's a much stronger beast, and Adam Southgate is absolutely simpatico with it at the moment. As he goes down towards Gracelands for the last time, this is going to be a beautiful clean sweep. His 3rd clean sweep of the season, winning every race that he starts in the mix. And Adam Southgate is literally cantering at cruise control to the championship in his current pace. Now, 3rd position, Lawrence, is being caught by Chamberlain and Molyneux on this last lap. This could change in the final couple of corners, so we need to keep an eye on this one wherever we can. But we need to congratulate this man who's coming down the school straight for the last time into the braking zone, turn in for the left-hander for the Brook chicane. Plenty of curb. You've got so much time, Adam. Just ease it in. No panic, no stress, no fuss, no bother. And out of the final turn, Adam Southgate wins not 1 race this weekend, not 2 races this weekend, but the triple. He gets the hat-trick. And the championship is not too far away now. Nick Hull gets his best ever result in the championship in 2nd place from Lawrence, Chamberlain and Molyneux. Goodwin, Churchill, Baker and Ludford are the only other finishers, with Jamie Callender retiring. Carl Rossin gets the victory in the 924 race in front of Hugh Pert, with Richard Matthews in 3rd, ahead of the retiree Gavin Johnson. Great weekend. And in the championship standings, it means that Adam Southgate's got a 42-point lead over Kevin Molyneux, with Nick Hull, Gary Lawrence and James Coleman giving chase. Kevin Ludford in the top 6, just ahead of Jesse Chamberlain as well, with Andrew Baker, Porter and Hayes in the top 10. Hugh Pert leads the 924 championship by just 8.5 points from Johnson. Rossin, Rick Styron from his Alton Park sojourn, and David Jones in the top 5.
Adam, reverse grids, pit stops, whatever the organisers throw at you, it doesn't seem to stop you walking away with the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship, does it?
Well, it didn't stop me this weekend, I suppose, yeah. Still a way to go in the championship. But yeah, good fun race, lovely clean racing as well. Just kind of picking my way through the pack. And lucky I managed to get into the lead before the pit stops, which made them a bit easier. I think it's, it would be really interesting behind me. I'd love to watch the footage.
Nick, Nick, congratulations. From what I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's the first time you've had a second place.
It's the first time I've had a second for a long time, yeah, so I've had them before, but yeah, it's a long time since I've had one. So that was brilliant fun, absolutely brilliant fun. The only trouble is I hadn't got a clue, I couldn't see my pit board, just hadn't got a clue where I was, so I thought I'd come fourth actually, but it shows you. But it was brilliant fun, great. First time we've done the pit stop, and I think everyone probably feels the same, it was good fun.
What a thrilling final race in the Toyo Tires Porsche Championship. The introduction of the pit stops made it something really worth watching. The question is, can anyone beat Adam Southgate? Join us next time at Castle Combe to find out.